After the 2021 Olympics, I was training for, I think, Boston at the time, and we just started to notice that when we would go out for workouts, I would get maybe 10 minutes into any sort of workout. It didn't matter what intensity it was, tempo, intervals, whatever it was. It would be like when you have a remote control car and all of a sudden, like the batteries start to die and you can just tell, like you have the throttle all the way open and it just gets slower and slower and slower and there's nothing you can do. And it was like I'd forgotten how to run.
The warning signs for me were my performance was, going down the drain. I wasn't showing up happy to practice, and it was impacting my entire life and not just my sport.
REDS, otherwise known as Relative Energy Deficiency in Sport, term that was first coined in 2014 in a paper from the International Olympic Committee. What it describes is the health and performance consequences that can occur when you have an athlete who isn't taking in the sufficient amount of calories through food to meet the demands of just basic daily function on top of the sports demands as well.
If we're not fueling enough and then we're going on that run and our body's, making sure that we have energy there, then that's when our basic functions start to slow down. I see a big delay in recovery, and then oftentimes athletes struggle to get their energy levels up. They might have smaller injuries or niggles that become more frequent before we start seeing the deeper signs of underfueling.
RED-S was affecting me because I was feeling tired, feeling miserable, running and recovering. I remember waking up in the middle of the night a couple times, so hungry, and denying myself food because I thought that was the way forward.
REDS has affected me a few different times throughout my career. I didn't know too much about it until college. The biggest way it manifested for me in college was through bone injuries, and found out it's not normal to not be getting a period for several years.
REDS can affect anyone. See it a lot in high school athletes, elite athletes, get a lot of the attention in some of the research studies, but it's really everyone, and it's females and males, and it doesn't discriminate body type.
So I was never told by a coach to lose weight, but I definitely felt pressured by the competitors that I was surrounded by. Honestly, as a young athlete, I succumbed to those pressures, and I absolutely went through some really bad cycles of disordered eating to kind of look a certain way, which didn't really work out for me.
When you have that pressure on yourself and you want it so bad, I think that's when you start to fall into the trap of comparison. Like, you can't compare to someone that's been running a marathon and they're 10 years older and their body should look different.
I would look at the top of the sport and think like, oh, my body doesn't look like that. Does that mean I need to emulate that in a way? And I was like, man, if I look like that, then I'll run like that. And it couldn't have been further from the truth.
That idea gets in the back of your mind, like, wait, if I'm this talented and I was maybe just a little bit lighter, what could that do for me?
Early on in REDS, an athlete may actually perceive positive results where they may notice they've lost some weight, they're performing better, they're running faster times, and they might not know that there's an underlying issue going on. And so that can be tough to navigate, because when you start to get to the injury phase of that, it's tough to undo that athlete's behavior, because there's this thought that, well, this is what got me the faster time the first time around, this should work as I continue it. But in reality, it may be perpetuating the problem.
Once you start working with a nutritionist, I was training for the marathon. Once you start talking to them about just how many calories you need and how many of those should come from carbs, I realized, like, oh, I've never eaten enough carbs. And so to think that I was then restricting on top of how little I was doing, it's not really a surprise that this wasn't going well.
So I broke my sacrum in 2020, and I talked to a sports dietitian and was basically told to eat more carbs. That frightened me because I was scared of carbs at the time. Yeah, so post run, I love to immediately try to get in some carbs, and so these are a couple of my go-tos. Shout out to Costco. This is just some probiotic granola, Bolo bars, protein drink, along with electrolytes, collagen. And then at home, I start making a more robust and balanced breakfast.
When I wasn't getting a period and my bone density was bad, I think I was overwhelmed about kind of what changes to make or how to go about that. And so I think working with someone was really helpful. For me, that was, how can you add calcium more regularly? How can we add that to every single meal? How can we add that to snacks? The importance of having a snack right after you're finished running or working out, the importance of eating before a workout and not just jumping out of bed and going, on an empty stomach. All right, so for my post-run snack, I like to do a protein smoothie, so I get everything in one. So I do milk, yogurt, banana for carbs, frozen fruit, whey protein, and creatine. So I get all my fat, proteins, carbs in one go.
If we're worried about just weight alone, we're leaving so much of our performance on the table, building that confidence that we don't know our potential if we're underfueled.
I hope that can be more of a narrative moving forward of how can you take people that you maybe look up to and think, oh, what are they doing for recovery? Or how are they fueling so much more than just how hard are they training and what does their body look like?